Today I'm going to show you how to diagnose and how to repair AC capacitor. This footage is from last summer when my AC suddenly stopped working one night. I heard a strange bowling sound coming from the outdoor unit. It sounds like something was about to explode. When I went outside to check, I felt hot air blowing out of the top of the AC unit. I also saw that the fan wasn't spinning at all. The whole unit just felt really hot to the touch. I shut off the AC system. I shut off the power immediately because I was worried that it might be overheating and I didn't want to risk further damage to my AC unit. Next morning, I took a closer look to see whether there's anything physically blocking the fan blade from spinning, but it wasn't anything there. So based on the signs, I figured that was about a 70% of the chance the capacitor was the problem. Of course, it could be other issue, like I could have a bad fan motor, a relay that failed, or even a loose wire or loose connection. But given the symptoms and how often capacitors fail, it was the first thing I decided to check. This is the new capacitor I used to fix the problem. It looks kind of like a big battery, but it doesn't store energy or power the same way. A capacitor sends a quick burst of energy to help the motors start up and keep it running smoothly. So without having that extra push from the capacitor, the fan and compressor motor inside your outside AC unit will not run. If the capacitor is weak or it's not holding a charge, the motors does not get enough power to start. So it just sits there and hum and doing nothing. Most AC systems use a dual run capacitor, which has 3 terminals. C is for common. This connects to the power supply and is shared by both motors. The Herm is for hermetically sealed compressor. Fan is for fan motor. That's why when a capacitor fails, you will notice symptoms like the fan is not spinning, the unit might be overheating, you might hear strange noises, and your circuit breaker might even be tripped. That's why when the capacitor is usually the first thing to check when your AC stops working unexpectedly. Before doing any work on your AC unit, you always want to shut off the power first. That is really important for safety. There are 2 ways to shut off the power that goes to your outside AC unit. The first way is to locate your circuit breaker. So in mine, I look for where the AC switches are. It's corresponding to this 2, so I just switch it off. Alternatively, you can also go to the outside AC unit, and in this case, you'll locate the circuit box right here. You just pull the panel, the handle out, and place it, say, on top of your circuit breaker, and that's it. Once the power is off, the next step is finding the capacitor. How do you find out where your capacitor is located? It's in the outside AC unit, so you come out and you look for the refrigerant line, and it's usually on the same side where the refrigerant line is, and there's a panel right here, and you can see the panel requires it has bolts here, so you just use a nut driver to open up the panel. There are 4 bolts around it, and then you can expose the capacitor inside. Now that we've found the capacitor, there are 2 really important steps to do before removing it. First, you need to make sure it's safe to touch by doing a DC voltage test with a multimeter, because capacitors can still hold a charge even after the power is off. Second, you will want to label the wires so you can reconnect everything correctly later. It's something that only takes a minute to do, but it will save you a lot of guesswork later, and it will help you avoid mistakes when you install the new capacitor. Here I just want to show you how to safely remove the old capacitor. Let's pretend I am sitting right next to my AC unit, and I have already shut off the power to the AC, taken out the access panel, and I'm looking at my old capacitor inside with the wires connected at the top. Even though at this point the power is off, because of the capacitor's function is to hold a charge, so there still could be a charge. When you accidentally touch it, you can get a shock. So there are two ways to discharge the capacitor. One way, you want to do it fast. You just get a screwdriver and you will short the circuit. So you'll do common and fan, then common and Herm to discharge it. And be careful, you want to hold the insulation part, not the metal part. Another way, you can just wait, because the capacitor itself discharge naturally over time. Say you waited for 30 minutes already, and you want to confirm that it's enough time already passed for you to safely handle the capacitor, then you will just have a multimeter at DC voltage, and you want to grab the two lead. One end you want to be on the common, the other end on the so this one is the Herm. You want to make sure the reading is less than 1 volt. Again, you will do that with a fan and common. So as long as the reading is less than 1 volt, you are safe. Now that it is safe to remove the capacitor, let's label the wires that go into each terminal before we disconnect anything. When I unplug those terminals, I made a label on the each of the wires. For example, this one says 3. then that means actually going to the white one, the one with the 3 prongs, and that's actually going to the compressor. This this brown one says 2 on it, and that goes to the green one with the 2 prongs that's going to the fan. And this 2 actually together has to go to the one that says 4, and that's the one, the black one, which has 4 terminals, and that's how I label them. After I removed the old capacitor, I couldn't read the label. It was completely rusted out, which means I had no way knowing the microfarad rating or voltage, which are both essential when buying a replacement. So instead, I look at the sticker on the outside of the access panel. It usually shows the brand and the model number of your AC unit, which you can later use to look up the correct capacitor specs online. If that sticker is missing or faded, the next place to check is inside the unit on the compressor itself. Sometimes the compressor label includes the capacitor size and voltage rating directly. Between the model number and the motor label, you can usually track down the exact specs you need for the new capacitor. When you are buying a replacement capacitor, there are 2 key numbers you need to look for. One is the microfarad rating and the voltage. The microfarad rating, which is written as mu F, it tells you the capacitor's capacity. So in a dual run capacitor like this one, you will see two numbers. Mine says 30/5 microfarads. The larger number here, 30, is for the compressor, and the smaller number here, 5, is for the fan motor. The plus and minus 6% on the capacitor level is the tolerance. It tells you how much the actual microfarad value can vary. You should always replace the capacitor with the one that has the exact microfarad rating. Next is the voltage rating. Mine shows 370/440 volts, which means it is rated for either. Here's the rule of thumb. You can go higher in voltage, but never goes lower. So if your old capacitor says 370 volts, it is fine if you want to replace it with a 440 volts, but not the other way around. If you are wondering where to get a replacement capacitor, I found mine on Amazon for about $15, and it was delivered the next day. Now let me show you a quick test I did to check if the old capacitor was still working. Since my AC fan wasn't spinning, I suspected that the fan side of the capacitor was the problem. I want to go here. So now you just need to take the probe. And remember I said the 4 prongs is common. So you want one goes to the common, and the other one goes to the, say this is for the compressor. So the compressor, I touch, it should be here, I touch, hold on, here, okay, let's see, 28.24. So it's supposed to be 30, so this one's underpowered a little bit, and let's go to the fan. So now I move this one to the fan, and I keep the common the same place. Here you go. 1.422. The capacitor is supposed to provide 5 microfarads, but it is only giving out 1.4. That's exactly why my fan motor wasn't spinning. The capacitor is too weak to start it. Alright, so I was just able to plug them in based on the label. Well, moment of truth. Just push this back in. Now it's on. Here. So now I have to go to the circuit breaker for the AC. AC is here, so that's this tube. Okay. Now we got power. I hope this works. Let's see, system, cool down, set to, well, we'll see. Let's go. Oh my goodness, the fan is on. I did it. Woo! We got AC. Alright, I'm gonna let it run for 5 minutes and see if there's anything wrong with it. After installing the new capacitor, I ran the AC for about 3 minutes. Then I used a temperature gun to check if it was working properly. I first aimed at the supply vent, which shows about 70 degrees. Then I checked the return vent, which shows about 78. That is 8 degrees difference, which is a little below the ideal range of 14 to 20 degrees. But keep in mind, it had only been running for a couple of minutes and the indoor temperature was still coming down. So the fact that I am seeing cooler air coming out from the supply vent confirms that the AC is running and cooling again, which means the capacitor replacement worked. This is how I diagnose and fix my AC, all for under $20.